So Alabama takes on Texas A&M in a game this weekend where college football fans have been excited for this ever since the public feud between Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher. And even though Texas A&M comes into this game dropping a few on the way, and Alabama's in a bit of an uncertain situation due to the injury of Bryce Young, which Nick Saban classifies as a shoulder sprain, saying Bryce Young will be day-to-day, I don't think the excitement for this game has dwindled at all. But today, we're not going to be talking about the game in and of itself. In fact, we're going to be talking about a certain player for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Because in the event Bryce Young is unable to play this weekend, college football fans need to familiarize themselves with Jalen Milroe. And today, we need to discuss why Alabama's offense could be dangerous with Jalen Milroe at the helm. Before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you think Alabama's offense can find success with Jalen Milroe at the helm? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. If you enjoyed the content, like and comment down below. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And first and foremost, it needs to go without saying, I'm not sitting here saying Bryce Young is not going to play this weekend. Nick Saban classified the injury as a shoulder sprain and said Bryce Young is day-to-day because he's dealt with this injury before. I have no idea what Bama's plan is for Bryce Young. I'm sitting here today because I've seen some people questioning whether or not Alabama's offense can find success with Jalen Milroe, and I'm here to tell you, should Jalen Milroe play quarterback this weekend, there are several ways Alabama's offense can find success, and we need to go over that. So once again, I'm not sitting here saying Bryce Young is not going to play this weekend. I have no idea. I'm simply saying, in the event he doesn't, familiarize yourself with Jalen Milroe. Before we get into why Jalen Milroe could lead a dangerous attack for the Crimson Tide, we need to understand who Jalen Milroe is. Jalen Milroe was a top 100 player overall coming out of high school, out of the state of Texas, really right in Texas A&M's backyard. Specifically, Jalen Milroe came in as the number 81 overall quarterback out of Katy High School in Katy, Texas. And whenever you watch his high school film, Milroe was beating teams in a myriad of ways, with his arm, with his legs. He has no shortage of athletic ability, something, if you're an Alabama fan, you're probably aware of if you watched the spring games or if you watched his performance against Arkansas. But that leads me into the reasons why I think Jalen Milroe could lead a dangerous Alabama offense, and that's reason number one. That Alabama's rushing attack is really coming alive at the perfect time, and when we look, they're a rushing attack that's averaging over 7 yards per carry. Now you put Jalen Milroe at the helm of that, defenses have got to play this Alabama offense completely different than when they have Bryce Young in there. Because Bryce is one of the most gifted passers we've seen in recent memory in college football, and he has the ability to hurt a defense with his legs, but so many times he uses his legs as an extension of the passing game. Jalen Milroe will use his legs to hurt a defense rushing the football. And that's not to say Jalen Milroe can't pass the football. If you watched the spring game for Alabama, you've seen he can pass the football, and he's continued to develop in that aspect. But his ability to run the football is uncanny. He is supremely athletic, and he has the ability to hurt a defense in many different ways. So because of that, whenever you look at who Alabama's running backs are, with Jahmyr Gibbs being such a weapon, and then Jace McClellan, who personally I feel like is one of the most underrated players in all of college football, there's a lot of different ways to have success. Now you put Jalen Milroe in between them, and if you're a defense, you really have to make sure you're accounting for every single person in that backfield because they could all hurt you. But this gets me into my second reason, the personnel. And more specifically, we need to take an in-depth look as to who some of these offensive players for Alabama are. And we'll start with Jahmyr Gibbs, because Jahmyr Gibbs really came alive last week against Arkansas, and college football got to see why Alabama fans and Nick Saban have been so excited as to what he's going to bring to the table. He is electric, and if he gets an inch of wiggle room, he's gone, and he's going to be very tough to catch. But it's not just what Jahmyr Gibbs offers as a running back. I've talked about this several times, and I'm going to say it again. If you go back to the Utah State game, one of the first plays in that game, Jahmyr Gibbs went out in the flats, and just the threat of him as a receiving threat pulled the entire defense forward, and Bryce Young hit Kobe Prentice for a 15-yard gain that was easy as could be. That's what Jahmyr gives you. Whether he's got the ball in his hands or not, defenses must account for him, and because of that, he's a weapon with or without the ball because of how much attention a defense must give him. Whenever you look at that, that's going to allow Alabama to do a lot of different things, and I keep talking about how defenses are going to have to play Alabama's offense differently if Jalen Milroe is at the helm. If a safety comes down into that box, I'm really intrigued to see what Bill O'Brien's going to draw up to try and get Jahmyr Gibbs loose, to try and get a Cameron Latu loose, because one thing I always talk about, if you have a new quarterback, great running back play, great tight end play can be that new quarterback's best friend. Luckily for Jalen Milroe, Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the most dangerous players in college football. I think Jase McClellan is one of the most underrated players in college football, and Cameron Latu is the most veteran pass catcher Alabama has. I think that's a recipe for success, and specifically for this game this weekend, Texas A&M's rush defense is not the rush defense we've come to expect for the past few years. They've had several teams hurt them on the ground. This Alabama team has the ability to hurt almost anybody on the ground, especially if the offensive line continues to progress the way they have. And finally, my third and final reason for why this offense could find success with Jalen Milroe is the quick passing game. These defenses are going to have to pay so much attention to the rushing threat Alabama presents. First and foremost, whether Jalen Milroe is in the game or not, with Alabama's rushing attack coming alive the way it is, I was already interested to see how defenses would try and stop that. But when you add Jalen Milroe into the equation, now you can't ignore it. You are forced to do something about it. But that could open up the quick passing game. And this kind of piggybacks off of reason number 2. Because I talked about in reason number 2 that Utah State game where Jahmyr Gibbs went out in the flat and caused the entire defense on the left side of the field to come up, which Bryce Young was able to take advantage of and hit QB Prentice. The reason why I think the quick passing game could be dangerous with Jalen Milroe at the helm is we've seen him be successful in it before. If you watched Alabama's spring game, not only were you able to see Jalen Milroe successful in the quick passing game, he was hitting deep shots to Christian Leary and looking really good throwing the football. So he has got the ability to hurt you with his arm. Make no mistake, please do not think Jalen Milroe is a one-dimensional quarterback and a rushing quarterback only. Even though he's phenomenal on the ground, he's got the ability to pass, and he can hurt you there too. And especially when you look, Alabama's wide receivers are coming alive at the perfect time. If defenses have to put a safety in the box to account for Jalen Milroe, I can't wait to see what Bill O'Brien and company draw up to try and free up some room with either Jahmyr Gibbs, Jase McClellan, Cameron Latu, Isaiah Bond, QB Prentice, Jermaine Burton, Holden, Brooks, Earl. You get my point. There's a lot of different ways Alabama can hurt you, and I'm really interested to see how they're going to go about utilizing Jalen Milroe should he be the guy this weekend. Now, it goes without saying, I opened the video saying this, I'm going to close the video saying this. I'm not saying Bryce Young is not going to play this weekend. I have no idea. I'm just telling you, in the event Bryce Young doesn't play, do not sleep on Jalen Milroe because he is a very talented individual, and I think there are absolutely paths for him to lead a dangerous Alabama offense. But I can't wait to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking first and foremost about this game, about the injury situation with Bryce Young, and finally, do you believe Jalen Milroe can field a dangerous Alabama offense? Can't wait to hear from you. That's it. See you.